With the failure to retrieve the Dark Force and the subsequent revelation that Thrawn was using clones to build his army, the New Republic realized their nightmare was upon them. The Empire was about to return. However, the indecision and corruption of the relatively new Republic government hampered any opportunity to prepare for Thrawn's imminent attack. Thus, the only hope left for the fledgling Republic was, as always, her preeminent defenders, the crew of the Millennium Falcon. Welcome to the Wizards and Warriors channel. We're glad to have you with us on our next exciting dive into the Star Wars universe. As is our custom, we invite you to take a seat, relax, and maybe bring your favourite action figures to watch as we recount the formal start of Thrawn's campaign and the decisive battle of Cat Krrstack. As our heroes are sent to myriad locations all over the galaxy, we'll highlight a way to create a complex story like this for yourself. Use our sponsor today, World Anvil. This is a complete package for building up an interlinked fictional world and using it to create new content and even tabletop RPG adventures. It works like a wiki, keeping track of the world's history, people, creatures, places, factions, relationships, and just about anything else you need to keep straight. That's great not just for creating a consistent world, but also for allowing collaborators to write content into your world, with everyone staying on the same page, so to speak, in terms of the lore. Aside from writing, get into the world via a game of D&D or loads of other tabletop systems, with all the data you need to play being tracked and updated within the program. So don't just build a new world and write its stories, make those stories with your own adventures in it. Not to mention that you get an easy-to-update presentation of all your universe's content for showing to others or showing off your achievement. You can check out World Anvil via our link in the description. If you use our code WIZARDS, they'll give you 51% off a yearly subscription, so support our channel and your imagination by taking a look. Though the Republic had lost nothing major in the last conflict with Thrawn, its upper command, namely Organa, Mothma, and the reintegrated Beliblis, were aware of the danger that they were in. Their first goal was to locate the Empire's cloning facility. In this, they didn't have much to go on, except that it wasn't the famous Kamino due to those facilities being taken out earlier in the war. This became the main mission of Luke Skywalker, who departed solo into the border territories to find any rumors about this hidden base. Thrawn, meanwhile, had not been idle. With his fleet having gained numerical superiority overnight, he first ordered his new ships refitted, then informed his officers of the next phase of the plan. The offensive was about to begin. With his new fleet of ships, Thrawn was now able to target 10 times more star systems than before. Though most Imperial officers would have launched a full attack, which is indeed what Republic High Command thought he would do, Thrawn displayed remarkable patience and restraint, merely employing the same strategy as before, but on a larger scale. His first attack was launched on Sfivren to keep the Republic from discovering his true intentions whilst he was mustering. And though he took the planet rather easily, the natives were extremely hostile to foreign overlords, and the Imperials never truly conquered the planet. Within a month of capturing the Katana fleet, he began his offensive, launching larger strike forces towards the Ando, Krond and Filv systems, each one catching the Republic completely off guard, and each one dealing heavy casualties to the Republic forces compared to negligible Imperial losses. The attack on Filv in particular was quite disruptive, as Lady Organa was on a diplomatic mission to Filv aboard the Falcon, and got caught in the attack, escaping only by the skin of her teeth. The Republic reacted as anticipated by sending out their fleet from the nearby base of Ord Padron to reinforce the area. But not long after these ships reached their destination, Ord Padron itself was attacked, with the base there being utterly destroyed. To the Republic, it seemed as if Ord Padron was the intended target all along. But they were again wrong, as 2 Imperial Star Destroyers, accompanied by 10 Dreadnought cruisers, emerged from hyperspace above the planet of Yukio, led by the Chimera herself. The Yukians immediately put up their planetary shield and sent to the Republic for support. Not long after, Thrawn called the Overliege of Yukio and informed him that the Yukioan system was once again under Imperial control and demanded the lowering of their shields and the unconditional surrender of the planet. The Overliege delayed his response to buy time for the Republic to come to their aid, as Thrawn suspected. Having given them the traditional ultimatum, he then ordered the fleet to commence firing. Though most planetary shields couldn't stop small craft from entering the planet, they were still formidable barriers, capable of stopping large assault ships, as well as shielding their host planet from orbital bombardment, which was the easiest way to capture a planet and a form of warfare the Empire was supremely adept at. So, because of their defenses, the Ukians expected the Empire to launch small assaults onto the planet to lower the shield, as was the textbook battle plan for taking such planets. This would buy them the time they needed, as they were still well supplied and adequately equipped to defend themselves until help arrived. So it was a surprise to the Ukians when the Imperials opened fire upon their impregnable shield, surprise which quickly turned to horror as the shots ripped the shield and found their marks, hitting 2 airbases on Ukio. The Ukians were in a panic, and seeing no other alternative, they surrendered within the hour to Thrawn, accepting his terms. Thrawn seemed to have acquired yet another card to play, having acquired a superweapon that could pierce planetary shields, upending not only conventional warfare, but the whole galaxy as well. Thrawn hadn't actually done something so marvelous, though he had intended it to be viewed that way. What had actually transpired was much simpler. Thrawn had several cloak dreadnoughts arrive in advance of his force and position themselves within the orbit of the planet below the shield, and using C'baoth's abilities, he coordinated the bombardment of the main fleet to coincide with the strikes of the interior vessels, giving the impression that he had pierced the shields. Ukio would be seen by many after the conflict as Thrawn's masterpiece, having taken an entire planet within an hour. Though he had not the superweapon everyone imagined he had, he didn't need it anymore even if he did. The mere thought that he had one instilled enough fear in most planets to capitulate to him. Furthermore, his quick and repeated success in this operation led many other factions within the galaxy who had either signed a peace treaty with the New Republic or taken a neutral stance, especially Imperial ones, to become aggressive, seeing the Empire could yet return, and that New Republic territory was ripe for the taking. As this was transpiring, Luke's search for Thrawn's cloning facilities led him to Birdchest. Although he had little to no luck finding the facility, he did meet Karrde on the planet, who kept his intentions to himself but was looking for the same prize. It was here that Luke revealed to Karrde that these weren't standard clones, as Luke could sense how young they were. This threw Karrde off, he himself realizing just how dangerous Thrawn was, and that with his recent capture of the food world of Ukio, he could feed this army. Luke proposed to the smuggler to set up a credit line for any information Karrde could find, to which he agreed, and the two departed. Luke now travelled to a different location he hoped would reveal the location of the cloning facility, but all the while he was being watched by Imperial spies who laid bait out for Skywalker to bite, just as Thrawn had told them to. Luke arrived in the Poderis system, believing that it was being used as a base to which new clones were to be sent after exiting the unknown facility, but he soon realized his mistake. He was trapped on-world and barely managed to escape, only to be caught in space by the Chimera. But through his use of the cover shroud maneuver, limping to the nearby Honoga, where the natives graciously accepted the son of Vader. After they repaired his ship, he left for Coruscant, sensing Organa and her children were in danger. Whilst Skywalker was on Honoga, Thrawn had gone to the front and tried to press the advantage of his newfound strategy, taking the planet of Wustri with minimal resistance by utilizing the same tactic he had on Ukio. This served the purpose of not only capturing the world, but also to show the galaxy that Ukio wasn't a fluke. The Republic sought to halt his advance dead in its tracks, and Garm Bel Iblis thought he could do just that. With his forces being used to highly mobile warfare, and not held down by the political intrigues of the New Republic, he waited for Thrawn's next move within the neighbouring sectors of those the Grand Admiral had previously struck. It was then that he heard the distress signal from the planet of Cat Krystak. Thrawn had barely finished occupying Wustri when he attacked Kataris and Cat Krystak in unison, with Thrawn personally overseeing the operation for the latter. Bel Iblis raced to the scene, finding the planet's defense force on the verge of breaking when he arrived. The details concerning the battle are rather vague, and don't go into great detail on the exact composition of the contesting belligerents, so we will have to make do with the information we have available, along with speculation derived from previous engagements. Bel Iblis arrived in the system with 15 dreadnought heavy cruisers, with Bel Iblis himself aboard his dreadnought the Peregrine. Accompanying him were a number of additional fighter wings that had the traditional T-65 X-wings and RZ-1 A-wing interceptors. They found the situation to be much to their advantage, as the Planetary Defense Force, which consisted of about 5 Mon Cala cruisers that had been shifted to the planet following the Empire's operations in the area, were still fighting and operational. Thrawn's force, meanwhile, consisted of only 3 Imperial Star Destroyers, including the Chimera, with their complementary fighter wings made up of TIE starfighters, bombers and interceptors. In addition to this were about 5 of Thrawn's own Dreadnought cruisers. Bel Iblis threw himself into the fray, leading his ships in to join the Mon Cala cruisers, who were still holding their own, with each using their fighter wings to effectively shield themselves from enemy artillery. Iblis probably deduced that if he could keep the battle going on long enough, Thrawn would either be defeated by oncoming Republic reinforcements, or concede that he couldn't take the planet and flee, as he had done so in the past. He was soon proven terribly wrong when 3 more Star Destroyers and a further 15 Dreadnoughts came out of hyperspace almost exactly on top of the Republic fleet. This not only caught the Republic off guard, but threw their defense into chaos, with a number of the Mon Cala cruisers becoming disabled or destroyed. This was when Iblis was informed of another ship kept hidden by Thrawn behind the Star Destroyers, one lone Interdictor-class Star Destroyer, which could generate a gravity well that stopped ships from using lightspeed by dragging them out of hyperspace. Though the Empire had employed this ship in prior battles, its intended and main function was to stop ships from fleeing the fight. Thrawn, however, used it to control where ships could deploy, having put these ships in neighbouring star systems for just this moment, for he knew where his ships were, and now they could effectively come out of hyperspace wherever he pleased within the generated gravity well. With the battle now shifting in the Empire's favour, Iblis ordered one of the remaining Mon Cala cruisers, the Orthovan, to neutralise the Interdictor so they could flee the system, having come to the conclusion the battle was lost. But as it went to perform this manoeuvre, 2 Victory-class Star Destroyers deployed in front and aside the Orthovan and began to bombard it, inflicting heavy damage. At this time, it is likely a number of Iblis's Dreadnoughts were probably gone too. Seeing that the Orthovan's attack was imperative to survival, Iblis ordered Rogue Squadron, which at this time held an advanced position on the flank, to attack the Star Destroyers assaulting the Orthovan. Thrawn had seen this as well, and placed his own fighters to screen the ships. Iblis responded by personally directing Rogue Squadron to form up for a maneuver, as the X-Wings led the way in 2 spearheads that ran toward the screen before splitting off, drawing the TIE fighters towards them. This left a thin screen of TIE fighters defending the ships, which were soon decimated by the A-Wings, which had hidden behind the X-Wings' assault. They pierced the formation and successfully neutralized the Star Destroyers long enough for the Orthovan to assault the Interdictor, knocking it out. With this, Iblis ordered a retreat. The Battle of Cat Krrstack was more devastating than it appeared at surface level. Though Iblis had escaped Thrawn's trap, he had lost a third of his force doing so, and in addition, the planet of Cat Krrstack. This had opened Thrawn's path to Nuklon, which he soon successfully destroyed, having gained valuable resources for his campaign. Though this battle would be famous as the birthplace for the 2 maneuvers born in this fight, the Thrawn Pincer and the A-Wing Slash, the battle had much more far-reaching consequences at the time. Up until this point, there was still a question if Thrawn could actually win a proper battle. He had conducted himself brilliantly up to this point in the overall strategic sense, but most of his engagements ended with his forces retreating and never concluding pitched battles. This fight knocked out Iblis's force as an independent fighting unit, as well as reinforced the mythos of Thrawn's invincibility. This would paralyze the New Republic further and would embolden her enemies. And yet Thrawn's campaign was only just beginning. Our series on the Chiss Grand Admiral will continue, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see it. Please consider liking, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.